What happens when history pauses, when tradition extends its hand, and when a movement rooted in hope walks into the palace of kings? In the ancient city of Ibadan, that question was answered the day Peter Obi came to pay homage to the Olubadan designate, Oba Rashidi Ladoja. It was more than a visit. It was a statement that tradition and transformation could stand side by side. Ibadan is no ordinary city. Once the headquarters of the old western region, it carries the weight of history on its shoulders. Its sprawling markets, old red-roofed houses, and crowded streets tell stories of power, commerce, and culture. On that day, Ibadan was alive in a different way. From Makola roundabout to Dugby, from Bodija to Mapo Hall, whispers filled the air, Obi is coming. Obi is coming to the palace. At the University of Ibadan, students debated what the visit meant. In the markets, traders paused between bargaining to discuss it. Taxi drivers in Sango carried passengers while blasting radio news about it. The city felt suspended between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Then came the moment. The convoy rolled into town. A sleek line of SUVs, guarded but not ostentatious, cut through Ibadan's busy roads. And then the people surged. Supporters waved green and red flags. Labour Party logos fluttered from motorcycle handles. Some climbed rooftops and trees, desperate for a better view. Youths chanted in unison, Obi! 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 But this was no ordinary political rally. There were no stage-managed chants or paid crowds. Instead, it felt spontaneous, as though the city itself had gathered to witness something symbolic. As the convoy slowed near the palace gates, Peter Obi stepped out. Dressed in his trademark simple black native attire, he waved with a calm, almost shy smile. It was not the entrance of a man seeking to impress with grandeur. It was the entrance of a man whose strength lay in humility. The palace courtyard was already a scene of cultural spectacle. Traditional drummers beat the bata and gangan, their rhythms echoing through the compound. Praise singers chanted oriki, ancestral praise poetry that honored both the Olubadan designate and his guest. Chiefs in flowing agbada and coral beads stood at attention, forming a living tapestry of Yoruba royalty. When Obi entered, the drumming grew louder, the chants more vibrant. He bowed respectfully, his humility contrasting with the grandeur of the moment. The Olubadan designate, Oba Rashidi Ladoja, a man known for wisdom and political courage, rose to receive him. Their eyes met, and in that handshake, a story was told, tradition meeting a movement, culture embracing change. Inside the palace hall, adorned with carvings and traditional motifs, the air was charged with expectation. The Olubadan welcomed Obi not just as a politician but as a son of Nigeria. "You are welcome to Ibadan," he said, his voice calm yet commanding. "This is a land of history, and history pays attention when men carry the hopes of the people." Obi smiled, nodding. His reply was measured, his tone soft but firm. "Your Majesty, I come not for myself, but for the people. Nigeria has suffered long, and our hope lies in unity. We must see ourselves, not as Igbo, Yoruba, or Hausa, but as Nigerians bound by one destiny." The word struck the hall like an echo. Some nodded in approval. Others murmured. But the message was unmistakable: he was not campaigning for a tribe, but for a nation. Outside, the crowd grew restless, eager to glimpse the meeting's outcome. Students sang protest songs repurposed into chants of hope. Market women clapped in rhythm, dancing barefoot in the dust. One elderly woman, carrying a tray of tomatoes on her head, stopped to speak to a journalist. "I have seen leaders come and go," she said, "but this one. He speaks like my own son. He feels near." A group of young men with smartphones recorded themselves live on social media, saying, "Today Ibadan showed that we don't care about tribe. Obi belongs to Nigeria." For a city long considered a fortress of old political alliances, the sight of so many openly supporting an outsider was extraordinary. But beyond the chants and the music, something deeper was happening. In Yoruba land, kingship is sacred. To be welcomed into the palace is to be validated by centuries of tradition. For Obi, an Igbo man from the east, to stand tall and be embraced in the West sent a message louder than any campaign speech. It told Nigeria that the obedient movement was not a regional wave. It was a national tide. It told Nigerians that the hunger for change had outgrown tribal borders, that competence and accountability were now the true markers of leadership. Political analysts would later describe the visit as symbolic, a handshake between history and possibility. When Obi finally stepped out to address the waiting crowd in the palace courtyard, the air stilled. Cameras rolled. Phones went up. He held the microphone simply, his voice even but resolute. Nigeria is not divided by tribe. Nigeria is divided by bad leadership. If we choose good leaders, no child will go to bed hungry in this country. The crowd erupted. Chants of, "We are ready! We are ready!" echoed through the air. He continued, "This palace reminds us that leadership is service. A king serves his people. A governor must serve his people. And a president, above all, must serve the people. That is why I am here, not to ask for power, but to promise service." It was not a fiery speech, yet it was powerful. It was not long, yet it lingered in memory. News of the visit spread quickly. Newspapers carried headlines the next day: Peter Obi visits Olubadan, tradition meets change. Social media buzzed with videos of the event. In Ibadan, people spoke of little else. Taxi drivers replayed his speech on their phones. At Bodija Market, traders analyzed his words between sales. In university halls, students debated the future. Some skeptics dismissed it as mere political theater. But for many, the images told a different story. Obi had not come with gifts or fanfare, yet he left with something more valuable: the goodwill of a people hungry for sincerity. That day in Ibadan, the palace became more than stone and wood. It became a meeting ground of past and future. When the Olubadan rose to welcome Peter Obi, it was not just a king greeting a guest. It was tradition shaking hands with transformation. It was history nodding to possibility. For the people who stood in the sun, for the market women who sang, for the students who chanted, the message was clear: Nigeria could be different. And in that handshake between an Igbo politician and a Yoruba monarch, the old barriers of tribe and tongue seemed, for a moment, to fade away. Peter Obi's visit to Oyo was not just about politics. It was about unity, about hope, and about the possibility of a new story for Nigeria. A story where leaders bow before tradition.